Good evening and welcome to Dreamy Academy. Tonight we begin a journey not through the stars but through the vibrant, intricate tapestry of life itself as we gently unfold the wonders of ecology. As we begin, I'd love to know where you're watching from, your city, your country, perhaps even what the night sky looks like outside your window. If you enjoy these peaceful explorations of science, please take a moment to like the video and subscribe. It truly helps this little corner of quiet curiosity grow. To those already subscribed, thank you sincerely for being part of this slow and thoughtful adventure. Right now, as you listen, you are breathing, and in that simple act, you are participating in a cycle that began billions of years ago. The oxygen filling your lungs was once exhaled by forests, perhaps even by the very first photosynthetic bacteria that transformed Earth's early atmosphere. Every atom in that breath, every molecule, has a long and storied history, having passed through countless living things, through oceans, through skies, through the very rocks beneath our feet. You are not merely an observer of this planet. You are an intimate, interwoven part of its grand living mechanism. This is the essence of ecology, the study of home, of the boundless connections that bind all life, from the smallest microbe to the tallest redwood, to the planet that cradles them. It is a science that reveals an astonishing beauty, a profound depth in the ordinary, turning every rustle of leaves, every drop of rain, every beating heart into a whisper of cosmic design. It rewards patient contemplation, for in its patterns we find not just facts, but a deeper understanding of our own place within this magnificent, breathing world. Consider for a moment the ordinary miracle of a single breath. The air that fills your lungs, cool and invisible, is a profound testament to the interconnectedness of life on Earth. It is not just nitrogen and oxygen, it is a whisper of ancient photosynthesis, a trace of distant volcanic exhalation, a payment message from every forest and ocean. This breath, this fundamental exchange is where our quiet exploration of ecology truly begins. We often think of environment as something outside of us, a backdrop to our lives. But in truth, we are woven into its very fabric, a part of its intricate, living design. Let's begin by considering the most fundamental unit of life within this grand tapestry, the individual organism. An organism is any living thing, a towering redwood, a microscopic bacterium, a soaring eagle, or indeed you. Each organism is a unique solution to the challenge of existence, a temporary arrangement of matter and energy that has found a way to persist, to grow, and to reproduce within the specific conditions of its surroundings. The study of how these individual organisms interact with their environment, how they survive and thrive, is called physiological ecology. It's about the intimate dance between a creature and its immediate world. Imagine, if you will, a single ancient oak tree standing stoically on a gentle slope. This oak is an organism. Its environment is everything that surrounds it and influences its life. The sunlight warming its leaves, the soil anchoring its roots and providing nutrients, the rain nourishing its vast network of capillaries, the wind rustling its branches, the very temperature of the air. These are the abiotic factors, the non-living components of its environment. But the oak is not alone. Birds nest in its branches, squirrels bury acorns at its base, fungi weave their mycelial networks through its roots, and countless insects feed on its leaves or burrow into its bark. These are the biotic factors, the living components that interact with the oak. The oak's life is a continuous conversation with these elements, a symphony of adaptation and response. To truly understand this oak, we must consider its habitat, the physical place where it lives. For our oak, its habitat is that particular patch of ground on the gentle slope with its specific soil composition, its unique exposure to sun and wind, its particular rainfall patterns. But within this habitat, the oak occupies a specific niche. A niche is more than just an address. It's a role, a profession, a way of life. It encompasses all the resources the oak uses: sunlight, water, carbon dioxide, minerals, and all the ways it interacts with its environment, providing shade, releasing oxygen, supporting insects, absorbing water. It's the sum of all an organism's relationships with its biotic and abiotic surroundings. The oak's niche is to be a primary producer, capturing solar energy and converting it into organic matter, forming the base of a complex food web. It's a quiet, patient, and profoundly important role. The beauty of this lies in its specificity. Consider a cactus in the Sonoran Desert. Its niche is defined by its ability to store water in its fleshy stem, its shallow, wide-spreading roots to capture infrequent rain, and its spines to deter thirsty animals and reduce water loss. Its habitat is the arid desert, but its niche is the specialized art of thriving where water is a precious, rare gift. Or think of a deep-sea anglerfish living in perpetual darkness. Its niche involves bioluminescence to attract prey, a massive mouth, and a slow metabolism to conserve energy in an environment of scarce resources. Each organism, over countless generations, has been sculpted by the patient hand of natural selection to fit its particular niche, a testament to the elegant problem-solving power of evolution. This process of adaptation is not a conscious choice, but a slow, persistent refinement. Over vast stretches of time, slight variations within a species, a thicker bark, a slightly more efficient root system, a subtly different leaf shape might confer a survival advantage in a particular environment. Those individuals are more likely to survive, to reproduce, and to pass on those beneficial traits. This isn't a race, it's a slow, steady drift towards greater harmony with one's surroundings. The very form of a creature, from the curve of a bird's wing to the pattern on a butterfly's wing, is a living record of this ongoing dialogue with its environment. The intricate patterns of a shell, the precise coloration of a flower, the complex chemistry of a venom, each is a biological solution to an ecological question posed by the environment. The implications of this individual adaptation ripple outward. When we look at a forest, we don't just see trees, we see countless individual organisms, each exquisitely tuned to its particular existence, each occupying its own unique niche. Some trees reach for the sun, while shade-tolerant ferns thrive beneath them. Some insects specialize in consuming a particular leaf, while others pollinate a specific flower. This astonishing diversity, this array of forms and functions, is a direct consequence of life's relentless pursuit of every available niche, every possible way to convert energy and matter into existence. The universe, it seems, abhors a vacuum, and life abhors an empty niche. Every space, every resource, every condition, given enough time, will find an organism to inhabit it, to exploit it, to become a part of its story. There's a particular comfort in understanding that even the simplest act of living, a plant unfurling its leaves, a bird building a nest, a bacterium dividing, is an affirmation of a profound connection. These individual lives, seemingly small and ephemeral, are the very threads that weave the larger tapestry of life on Earth. They are the building blocks, the notes in the cosmic symphony. And as we consider these individual organisms patiently adapting, quietly persisting, we begin to feel the gentle pulse of a larger system. So we've seen how each individual organism, from the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, finds its unique place within its environment, adapting to both the living and non-living factors that shape its existence. We've explored the concept of habitat as its address and niche as its profession, understanding how evolution patiently sculpts these intricate forms. But what happens when many individuals of the same kind come together? How do these individual lives, when multiplied, create something more? That question leads us into the next layer of ecological understanding, where individual organisms coalesce into populations, and the story of life begins to unfold on a grander, yet still intimate scale. We left our journey last time with the individual, a marvel of adaptation, perfectly sculpted by the slow, patient hand of natural selection to inhabit its unique niche. We watched the deep-sea anglerfish, a solitary flicker in the abyss, and the ancient redwood, a silent sentinel reaching for the sky. Each a testament to life's persistent ingenuity, finding its way, carving out its own existence within the vast, intricate design of our living earth. But life, as we know, rarely exists in true solitude. Even the most isolated creature is part of a grander narrative, a thread woven into a larger fabric. Tonight, dear friends, we take the next gentle step in our collective exploration. We move from the singular, exquisite individual to the collective pulse, the shared rhythm, the dynamic dance of many individuals of the same kind. We move into the realm of populations. Imagine, if you will, a vast ancient forest. We stand beneath the towering canopy, perhaps of those very redwoods we spoke of, their bark furrowed like the wisdom lines on an elder's face. You see not just one tree, but hundreds, thousands stretching as far as the eye can see. Each one a redwood, each one sharing the same genetic heritage, each one drawing from the same soil and sky. This, in its simplest form, is a population. A group of individuals of the same species living in the same geographical area at the same time. It's a collective breath, a shared existence bound by species and space. Consider the shimmering school of fish, moving as one fluid entity through the ocean depths, a living kaleidoscope of scales and fins. Or the sprawling colony of ants, a complex subterranean city teeming with workers, soldiers, and a queen, all genetically linked, all pursuing a common destiny. These are populations, each with its own unique characteristics, its own story of survival and growth. What defines a population beyond simply being a collection of the same species? Well, much like an individual has its traits, a population possesses its own set of collective attributes, its own ecological personality, if you will. Let's delve into some of these defining characteristics, these brush strokes that paint the portrait of a population. Firstly, there is a population size and density. Size, quite simply, is the total number of individuals within that defined area. Density, however, offers a deeper insight. It's the number of individuals per unit area or volume. Imagine our redwood forest again. We might say there are 1,000 redwoods in a certain valley, size, but if that valley is very large, the trees might be sparsely spread, low density. If it's a smaller, fertile pocket, they might stand shoulder to shoulder, reaching for the light in a dense, verdant throng, high density. Density tells us about the concentration of life and often about the competition for resources within that space. A high density can mean fierce competition for sunlight, water, or nutrients, a silent, slow-motion battle for survival among kin. Then we observe population distribution, or dispersion. How are these individuals arranged within their habitat? Are they scattered randomly like dandelions in an open field, each seed falling where it may. This is random distribution, often seen where resources are uniformly available and individuals don't strongly attract or repel each other. More commonly, we see patterns. Think of a herd of bison grazing on a vast prairie, or a pride of lions resting together. They tend to gather in groups, perhaps for protection, perhaps to exploit a patchy resource like a watering hole. This is clumped distribution, the most common pattern in nature, reflecting social behaviours, resource availability, or reproductive strategies. It speaks to the power of aggregation, the safety in numbers, or the wisdom of sharing a good spot. And then there's uniform distribution, a more deliberate spacing. Picture rows of trees in an orchard, meticulously planted by human hands. Nature too can create such patterns, though often through intense competition. Consider creosote bushes in the Sonoran Desert. Each bush excretes chemicals into the soil around it, inhibiting the growth of other plants too close by, effectively creating its own personal space, ensuring it has enough precious water and nutrients. This competitive spacing leads to a surprisingly even arrangement, a testament to the struggle for survival in harsh conditions. Each pattern of distribution tells a unique story about the species, its environment, and its interactions. Beyond how they are counted and arranged, populations also possess a dynamic internal structure, their age structure. This refers to the proportion of individuals in different age groups within the population. We often categorize these into pre-reproductive, young, not yet able to reproduce, reproductive, mature, actively breeding, and post-reproductive, older, past their breeding years. Why is this important? Because age structure is a crystal ball, offering insights into a population's past, present, and most importantly its future. A population with a large proportion of young, pre-reproductive individuals, like a young forest bursting with seedlings, suggests a growing population poised for expansion. Conversely, a population dominated by older, post-reproductive individuals with few young ones might be declining, like a venerable forest where no new saplings take root. Its living demographic profile a snapshot of its vitality and potential. And what drives these changes in population size and structure? The fundamental forces are natality, birth rates, and mortality. Death rates. Natality is the number of births per unit of time per individual or per population. Mortality is the number of deaths. When births outpace deaths, a population grows. When deaths exceed births, it shrinks. It's a constant, delicate balance, a cosmic ledger of life and loss. But it's not just births and deaths. For many species, especially mobile ones, immigration, individuals moving into a population, and emigration, individuals moving out, also play crucial roles. Think of migratory birds, their annual journeys connecting distant populations, weaving a vast continental tapestry of life. These rates, birth, death, immigration, emigration, combine to create population growth patterns. Sometimes, under ideal conditions with abundant resources and no limiting factors, a population can experience exponential growth. Imagine a single bacterium dividing every 20 minutes. Soon you'd have billions. On a graph, this looks like a J-shaped curve, shooting upwards, seemingly without limit. It's a powerful, almost explosive potential for life, a testament to its inherent drive to reproduce. However, in the real world, such unchecked growth is rarely sustainable for long. Resources are finite, space is limited, and predators lurk. As a population grows, its environment begins to push back, food becomes scarcer, waste products accumulate, diseases spread more easily, and competition intensifies. These are limiting factors, environmental constraints that restrict population growth. As these limiting factors exert their influence, the growth rate slows, eventually leveling off. This leads to logistic growth, a more realistic and common pattern in nature, depicted by an S-shaped curve. The population grows rapidly at first, then its growth decelerates as it approaches its carrying capacity, K or... What is carrying capacity? It's a beautiful and profound concept, really. The key carrying capacity of an environment is the maximum population size of a particular species that the environment can sustain indefinitely given the available resources, space, and the presence of predators or diseases. It's the ecological speed limit, the environmental ceiling, the point of equilibrium where the birth rate roughly equals the death rate, and the population hovers in a dynamic balance with its surroundings. Think of an island with a finite amount of grass. A small herd of deer might thrive and multiply. But as their numbers increase, the grass gets eaten faster, and soon there isn't enough for everyone. Deer might starve, or become weaker and more susceptible to disease, or predators might find them more easily. The island has a carrying capacity for deer, a number beyond which it simply cannot support more. These limiting factors can be either density-dependent or density-independent. Density-dependent factors become more intense as the population density increases. Competition for food, water, or mates, the spread of disease, the impact of predators, all these intensify when individuals are packed more closely together. A dense population is like a crowded room. A cough spreads faster, and everyone jostles for space. Density-independent factors, on the other hand, affect a population regardless of its density. A sudden, severe drought, a volcanic eruption, a devastating forest fire, or an extreme cold snap can wipe out a large portion of a population, whether it's sparse or dense. These are often catastrophic events, acts of nature that reshape landscapes and life. Understanding these dynamics, births, deaths, growth patterns, carrying capacity, limiting factors, is like listening to the very pulse of life on Earth. It helps us appreciate the delicate equilibrium that nature constantly strives to maintain, the intricate feedback loops that govern the ebb and flow of species. We too are a population, you and I, and all 7+ billion of us. Our own population dynamics have profoundly reshaped the carrying capacity of our planet, often by creatively expanding resources or by altering ecosystems. This is a topic we will certainly touch upon later, for human ecology is perhaps the most compelling and challenging aspect of our study. But for now, let us simply marvel at the elegance of these population dynamics. From the microscopic world of bacteria to the majestic herds of elephants, each species plays out its demographic story shaped by the environment, constantly adapting, constantly seeking that elusive balance. As we conclude our time with populations, I invite you to carry this understanding with you. When you next see a flock of birds or a patch of wildflowers, or even the familiar faces in a bustling city, try to see them not just as individuals, but as a population. Consider their numbers, their spacing, their age, the factors that allow them to thrive, or that challenge their existence. For it is from these dynamic populations, these living, breathing collectives, that the next layer of ecological complexity emerges. When different populations, different species, begin to interact, to share the same space, to influence each other's lives in myriad ways, we then begin to form something even grander, something even more interwoven, the community. And that, my friends, is where our journey will lead us next. Take a moment now to reflect, to let these concepts settle like gentle dust motes in the evening light. Feel the rhythm of populations, the shared breath of a species, expanding and contracting, a vital part of the Earth's living symphony. Until next time, let curiosity be your guide and wonder be your companion. Last time we delved into the intricacies of populations, those vibrant clusters of individuals of the same species, dancing to the rhythms of birth, death, and migration, ultimately shaped by the environment's gentle yet firm hand, the carrying capacity. We observed how each population, whether burgeoning or gracefully stable, plays its part in the grander scheme. Now, as the virtual evening deepens and the soft glow of our dreamy academy seems to warm the very air around us, we expand our gaze even further. We move from the singular species to the magnificent symphony orchestrated by many species living and interacting together. Tonight, we open the door to the concept of communities. Imagine, if you will, a bustling marketplace. It's not just one type of vendor selling their wares, it's a kaleidoscope of sights, sounds and smells. There are bakers, weavers, farmers, artisans, each with their unique offerings, their distinct needs, and their specific ways of interacting with one another. Some might compete for the best spot, others might form alliances exchanging goods or services. This human analogy, though imperfect, offers a glimpse into the complexity of an ecological community. And our ecological community, in its essence, is a group of different populations of various species living and interacting with each other in the same physical area. It's the interwoven tapestry of all living things, plants, animals, fungi, bacteria, protists, that share a common space. From the towering trees of an ancient forest to the microscopic denizens of a single drop of pond water, these communities are dynamic, ever-changing constellations of life. When we speak of a desert community, we envision not just one species of cactus, but the entire ensemble: the saguaros, the javelina, the coyotes, the scorpions, the myriad insects, and the bacteria beneath the sand, all inextricably linked. What makes one community distinct from another? How do we begin to understand their character? Two fundamental measures help us paint a picture: species richness and species diversity. Species richness is perhaps the most straightforward. It simply refers to the number of different species present in a community. A tropical rainforest, for instance, might boast an astonishing number of distinct species of trees, birds, insects, and mammals, making it incredibly species-rich. A polar ice cap, by contrast, would likely have a much lower species richness. It's a count, a tally of the unique players on the stage. But merely counting the players doesn't tell us the whole story. Imagine two communities, both with 10 different species. In one, all 10 species are present in roughly equal numbers. In the other, 9 of those species are represented by only a handful of individuals, while one species overwhelmingly dominates. Which community feels more robust, more balanced? This brings us to species diversity. Species diversity considers not only the number of different species, richness, but also their relative abundance. How many individuals of each species are present? A community with high species diversity has many different species, and those species are represented by a relatively even distribution of individuals. This evenness is crucial. A highly diverse community is often more resilient, more stable, better equipped to withstand disturbances like disease outbreaks or environmental shifts. Each species, with its unique adaptations and roles, acts like a thread in that intricate tapestry, and a greater variety of threads, evenly distributed, makes the whole fabric stronger and more resistant to unraveling. It's a profound lesson in the wisdom of nature. Strength often lies in variety and balance. Now, let us turn our attention to the pulsating heart of any community, the interspecies interactions. These are the conversations, the competitions, the collaborations, and the conflicts that define the relationships between different populations. It is here that we truly begin to see the ecological dance in all its intricate beauty. One of the most fundamental interactions, perhaps the most primal, is competition. This occurs when two or more species require the same limited resources, be it food, water, sunlight, space, or nesting sites. Think of two different species of birds vying for the same type of insect in the same tree, or different plant species competing for precious nutrients and sunlight in a crowded forest floor. Competition can be fierce, a constant pressure that shapes the evolution of species. A cornerstone concept arising from competition is the competitive exclusion principle, which states that two species cannot coexist indefinitely if they are competing for the exact same limited resources in the exact same way. One species will inevitably outcompete the other, leading to the local extinction of the less efficient competitor. It's a powerful ecological truth suggesting that nature abhors a vacuum, but also abhors redundancy in a perfectly shared niche. However, nature is also incredibly creative. More often than not, species find ways to minimize direct competition through a process called resource partitioning. Instead of fighting head-on, they specialize. Imagine those two bird species we mentioned earlier. Perhaps one feeds on insects high in the canopy, while the other forages in the understory. Or one hunts in the morning, the other at dusk. Perhaps one prefers larger insects, the other smaller ones. They are in essence dividing the available resources, each finding its slightly different profession or niche within the broader habitat, allowing them to coexist. It's a testament to life's ingenuity, a subtle dance of adaptation to avoid direct conflict and find a unique pathway to survival. Moving beyond competition, we encounter the dramatic tension of predation. This is the interaction where one organism, the core predator, consumes another, the prey. It is a relationship of life and death, but one that is absolutely vital for maintaining the health and balance of an ecosystem. Predators help regulate prey populations, preventing them from growing too large and overgrazing their resources. They often target the weak or sick, strengthening the overall genetic fitness of the prey population over time. Consider the swift chase of a cheetah after a gazelle on the African savanna, or the silent strike of an owl snatching a mouse in the twilight. This dynamic has driven an evolutionary arms race for millions of years. Prey species develop defenses, camouflage to blend in, warning coloration to advertise toxicity, mimicry to imitate dangerous species, speed to escape, or even chemical defenses like venoms and toxins. Predators, in turn, evolve sharper senses, greater speed, more effective hunting strategies, and resistance to prey defenses. It's a relentless, beautiful cycle of adaptation, constantly honing the skills of both hunter and hunted. A specific type of predation, common and often overlooked, is herbivory, where an animal consumes plants. From the tiny aphid sucking sap from a leaf to the massive elephant browsing on tree branches, herbivores are a critical link in the flow of energy. Plants, in turn, have evolved their own remarkable defenses against being eaten. Thorns, spines, tough leaves, and an astonishing array of chemical compounds, from bitter tannins to potent poisons. Many of the medicines we use today have their origins in these plant defenses, a testament to the biochemical ingenuity shaped by herbivory. Beyond these more overt struggles, we find interactions characterized by closer, more enduring relationships, often grouped under the umbrella of symbiosis. Symbiosis means living together, and it describes a close, long-term interaction between two different species. There are three main types of symbiotic relationships. First, there is mutualism, a truly heartwarming example of cooperation in nature. In mutualistic relationships, both species benefit from the interaction. Think of the vibrant dance between a bee and a flower. The bee gets nectar, a vital food source, and in return it inadvertently carries pollen from one flower to another, facilitating the plant's reproduction. Neither could thrive as effectively without the other. Or consider the tiny cleaner fish that pick parasites off the skin and gills of larger fish. The cleaner fish gets a meal, and the larger fish gets rid of irritating pests. Mycorrhizal fungi, which grow on and into plant roots, provide plants with enhanced water and nutrient absorption, while the fungi receive sugars produced by the plant. These are partnerships profoundly illustrating how collaboration can lead to mutual flourishing. It's a powerful reminder that life isn't just about competition, but also about profound, mutually beneficial alliances. Then we have commensalism, a more subtle form of symbiosis, where one species benefits and the other is neither significantly harmed nor helped. A classic example is the barnacle attached to the shell of a whale. The barnacle benefits by gaining a mobile home, access to nutrient-rich water currents for feeding and protection from predators. The whale, being enormous, is generally unaffected by the barnacles. Another example is the egret bird that follows grazing cattle, feeding on the insects stirred up by the cattle's movement. The egret gets an easy meal, and the cattle are largely indifferent. These are quiet alliances, where one finds advantage without imposing a cost on the other. Finally, there is parasitism, an interaction where one species, the parasite, benefits at the expense of the other, the host. Unlike predation, where the interaction is often swift and fatal for the prey, parasites typically live on or in their host for an extended period, drawing nutrients or resources without immediately killing the host. After all, a dead host is a dead end for the parasite. Ticks feeding on the blood of a deer, tapeworms living in the intestines of a mammal, or mistletoe drawing water and nutrients from a host tree are all examples of parasitism. Parasites can weaken their hosts, make them more susceptible to predators or disease, or reduce their reproductive success, but they rarely cause immediate death. This delicate balance ensures the parasite's continued survival. As we consider these intricate relationships, we sometimes discover a species that plays an unexpectedly large role in shaping the entire community. These are known as keystone species. Just as a keystone in an arch is the single central stone that holds the entire structure together, keystone species is one whose presence and role within an ecosystem has a disproportionately large effect on other organisms in the system, even if it is not the most abundant species. Remove the keystone and the arch collapses. Remove the keystone species, and the community can undergo dramatic, often detrimental changes. A classic example is the sea otter in the kelp forests of the Pacific coast. Sea otters eat sea urchins. Without sea otters, sea urchin populations explode and these voracious herbivores decimate the kelp forests. The kelp forests in turn provide critical habitat and food for countless other species, fish, invertebrates, other marine mammals. So the presence of sea otters, though they are not the most numerous species, is absolutely vital for the health and diversity of the entire kelp forest community. Another powerful example is the wolf in Yellowstone National Park. Their reintroduction dramatically altered elk grazing patterns, allowing aspen and willow trees to recover, which in turn benefited beavers, birds, and even changed the flow of rivers. These keystone species remind us that every part of the ecological web is important, but some threads, though thin, are absolutely critical for the integrity of the whole. Communities, as we've seen, are not static paintings, they are dynamic, ever-evolving landscapes. And one of the most profound processes demonstrating this dynamism is ecological succession. This is the process of change in the species structure of an ecological community over time. It's how ecosystems recover, regenerate, and transform. Imagine a barren landscape, perhaps a new island formed by a volcanic eruption, or rock exposed after a glacier recedes. There is no soil, no life. This is where primary succession begins. Pioneer species like hardy lichens and mosses are the first to arrive. They cling to the rock, slowly breaking it down with acids and trapping dust and debris, gradually creating the first thin layer of soil. As these pioneers live and die, their organic matter enriches the nascent soil. Over centuries, small grasses and shrubs can take root, followed by larger plants and eventually trees. Each stage modifies the environment, making it more hospitable for the next wave of species until a mature, complex community develops. It's a slow, deliberate reclaiming of space by life, a testament to nature's persistent drive to flourish. More commonly, we observe secondary succession. This occurs in areas where a community that previously existed has been removed by a disturbance, a forest fire, a flood, an abandoned farm field, or a clear-cut logging operation. But the soil or sediment remains intact. Because the soil is already present, secondary succession proceeds much faster than primary succession. Weeds and annual plants quickly colonize the disturbed area, followed by perennial grasses, then shrubs, and finally trees. Think of an old farm field slowly being overtaken by a forest. That is secondary succession in action, a gradual return to a more complex, mature state. While the concept of a fixed climax community was once popular, we now understand that ecosystems are in constant flux, always adapting, always responding to new disturbances and opportunities. Succession is an ongoing dance, not a final destination. As we gaze upon these communities, understanding their richness, their diversity, their intricate interactions, and their ceaseless transformations, we cannot help but feel a profound sense of awe. Each community is a unique expression of life's ingenuity, a vibrant testament to the power of connection. From the smallest bacterium to the largest whale, every organism is woven into this magnificent fabric, contributing to its strength, its beauty, and its resilience. We have moved from the individual to the population and now to the community, a complex web of life. Next time, we will take an even broader view, stepping back to see how these communities interact with their non-living environment, exploring the grand concept of ecosystems and the fundamental flow of energy that sustains them all. Until then, I encourage you to look around you wherever you are and try to discern the communities in your own immediate environment. What interactions do you observe? What stories do they tell? The world, dear friends, is an open book waiting for your curious gaze, and so, having journeyed through the intricate dance of individuals, the collective heartbeat of populations, and the vibrant symphonies of communities, we arrive at a truly encompassing vista. Last time we pondered the myriad ways different species interact within a shared space, forming those remarkable ecological communities. Today we broaden our gaze even further, encompassing not just the living tapestry but the very loom upon which it is woven, the non-living world. We stand now at the threshold of understanding the ecosystem. Imagine, if you will, a grand living mosaic where every piece, whether vibrant green leaf or ancient granite stone, shimmering stream or soaring eagle, is inextricably linked. And our ecosystem is precisely this: a community of living organisms interacting with their non-living or abiotic environment. It's where the biotic and abiotic realms cease to be separate entities and become partners in a ceaseless dynamic exchange. Think of an ancient forest, its towering trees reaching for the sun, their roots delving deep into the earth. This is more than just a collection of trees, deer, fungi, and soil microbes. It is a system where sunlight energy is captured, water cycles through the canopy and ground, nutrients are drawn from the soil and returned to it, and countless organisms perform their roles, each contributing to the forest's enduring vitality. Or consider a coral reef, a breathtaking underwater city built by tiny polyps, teeming with fish, algae, and invertebrates, all utterly dependent on the clear, warm ocean currents and the availability of sunlight filtering through the water. These are ecosystems, each with its own unique character, yet all sharing fundamental principles. At the heart of every ecosystem lies a dual, ceaseless process: the flow of energy and the recycling of nutrients. These are the lifebloods, the invisible currents that animate and sustain all that we see, and indeed, all that we cannot. Let us first contemplate the flow of energy. Where does all this life force originate? For nearly all ecosystems on Earth, the ultimate source is the sun. Its radiant energy pours down upon us, a silent, generous gift. But how does this energy become usable for life? This is where the magnificent soil producers step onto the stage. We also call them autotrophs, meaning self-feeders. These are the organisms, primarily plants and algae, that possess the extraordinary ability to convert light energy into chemical energy through photosynthesis. They are the foundation, the primary creators of organic matter, forming the lowest rung of the energetic ladder. Imagine a vast, invisible factory floor where sunlight, water, and carbon dioxide are transformed into sugars, the fuel for life. This process, known as primary production, determines how much energy is available to the rest of the ecosystem. Without these diligent producers, life as we know it would simply cease to be. From these producers, energy begins its journey upwards. Next in line are the consumers, or heterotrophs, other feeders. These are organisms that obtain their energy by consuming other organisms, and within this broad category we find a hierarchy. Primary consumers, often called herbivores, are the gentle grazers and browsers of the world. They feed directly on the producers, the deer nibbling on leaves, the caterpillar munching on a plant, the rabbit eating grass. They are the first to convert the plant's stored energy into animal tissue. Secondary consumers are typically carnivores or omnivores, animals that eat both plants and animals. They obtain their energy by eating primary consumers. Think of a wolf preying on a deer or a bird catching an insect. Tertiary consumers occupy an even higher trophic level, feeding on secondary consumers. An owl hunting a snake, which in turn ate a mouse, exemplifies this. And in some complex ecosystems, you might even find quaternary consumers. But the story of energy flow doesn't end with the highest predators. There is another equally vital group of consumers, the decomposers, or detritivores. These are the unsung heroes of every ecosystem. the bacteria, fungi, and invertebrates like earthworms and millipedes that break down dead organic matter. They consume the remains of producers and consumers at every level, releasing nutrients back into the soil, water, and air. Without decomposers, the world would be buried under layers of waste, and the vital nutrients locked away, unavailable for new life. They are the ultimate recyclers, ensuring that matter does not simply accumulate but is perpetually put back into circulation. To visualize this flow of energy, we often speak of food chains and food webs. Food chain is a simple linear sequence showing how energy is transferred from one organism to another. Grass, rabbit, fox, but nature is rarely so linear. In reality, most organisms eat and are eaten by multiple different species. This interconnectedness forms a complex, intricate network we call a food web. A single plant might be eaten by many insects, which are then eaten by various birds, spiders, and frogs, which in turn become food for larger predators. Food webs illustrate the profound interdependence within an ecosystem, showing how the removal or addition of one species can ripple through the entire system. Each step in a food chain or web represents a trophic level, a position an organism occupies in this feeding sequence. Producers are at the first trophic level, primary consumers at the second, secondary consumers at the third, and so on. Now, here's a crucial concept. The transfer of energy between trophic levels is remarkably inefficient. As energy moves from one level to the next, a significant portion is lost, primarily as heat during metabolic processes. A widely accepted approximation is the 10% rule. Only about 10% of the energy from one trophic level is transferred to the next. This means that if producers capture, say, 10,000 units of energy, consumers will only acquire about 1,000 units from them, secondary consumers a mere 100, and tertiary consumers just 10. This explains why there are typically far fewer organisms at higher trophic levels. It simply takes a vast amount of primary production to support a smaller number of top predators. It's a powerful illustration of the energetic pyramid of life. While energy flows through an ecosystem in one direction, diminishing at each step, nutrients behave differently. They cycle. Unlike energy, which is ultimately lost as heat, matter, the atoms and molecules that make up life, is conserved and reused. These movements of chemical elements through ecosystems are known as biogeochemical cycles, for they involve biological, geological, and chemical processes. Let's briefly touch upon some of the most vital cycles. The water cycle, for instance, is fundamental. We all know its basic rhythm: evaporation from oceans and land surfaces, condensation into clouds, precipitation as rain or snow, and then runoff or infiltration back into bodies of water or groundwater. But within an ecosystem, this cycle is deeply intertwined with life. Plants draw water from the soil and release it into the atmosphere through transpiration, influencing local weather patterns and contributing to atmospheric moisture. Animals drink water and excrete it, further integrating the living into this grand circulation. Then there's the carbon cycle, arguably the most discussed today. Carbon is the backbone of all organic molecules. It moves from the atmosphere as carbon dioxide into living organisms through photosynthesis by producers. Consumers obtain carbon by eating other organisms. When organisms respire, they release carbon dioxide back into the atmosphere. Decomposers return carbon to the soil and atmosphere from dead organic matter. And of course, the burning of fossil fuels, ancient stores of organic carbon, has dramatically altered this delicate balance, releasing vast amounts of carbon dioxide into our atmosphere. The nitrogen cycle is equally critical. Nitrogen is a key component of proteins and nucleic acids like DNA. While the atmosphere is mostly nitrogen gas, N2, most organisms cannot directly use it in this form. This is where specialized bacteria come into play. Nitrogen fixation, largely carried out by bacteria in soil or in the roots of certain plants like legumes, converts atmospheric nitrogen into forms usable by plants. Other bacteria are involved in what nitrification, converting ammonia into nitrates, and denitrification, returning nitrogen gas to the atmosphere. It's a microbial ballet, essential for all life. Finally, the phosphorus cycle. Phosphorus is vital for ATP, the energy currency of cells and cell membranes. Unlike carbon and nitrogen, the phosphorus cycle has no significant atmospheric component. Instead, it primarily cycles through rocks, soil, water, and living organisms. Weathering of rocks releases phosphate into the soil and water, where it's taken up by plants. Animals obtain phosphorus by eating plants or other animals. Decomposers return phosphorus to the soil. This cycle is often slower than the others, and phosphorus can be a limiting nutrient in many ecosystems. As you contemplate these cycles, observe how profoundly interconnected they are. A change in the water cycle affects plant growth, which impacts the carbon cycle, and so on. They are the invisible gears and levers of our planet, constantly moving, constantly interacting, constantly sustaining. So when we speak of an ecosystem, we are speaking of a place where life and non-life engage in a continuous, intimate dialogue. It is a system of profound interdependence, where the sun's energy fuels the producers feed the consumers, the decomposers break down the fallen, and the essential nutrients are meticulously recycled, allowing new life to flourish. This holistic view of the ecosystem reveals its incredible resilience and its inherent fragility. It shows us that every stream, every patch of forest, every urban park, and indeed our entire planet, functions as an integrated system. And understanding these fundamental flows and cycles is not merely an academic exercise. It is an invitation to recognize our place within this grand design, to appreciate the immense, quiet work happening all around us, and to understand the profound ecosystem services, the clean air, fresh water, fertile soil, and stable climate that healthy ecosystems provide for all of us. We have now moved from the smallest living unit to the grandest, most encompassing natural system that includes both life and its physical stage. But what happens when these vast ecosystems themselves change over time, or when they encounter larger scale forces that connect them across continents and oceans? Next, we will step back even further to consider the planet's largest ecological units, the biomes, and the overarching concept of the biosphere itself. We will see how individual ecosystems are threads in an even larger global tapestry. As our journey through the intricate dance of life unfolds, we find ourselves continually broadening our gaze, moving from the intimate world of individual organisms to the grand orchestration of ecosystems. We have seen how energy flows and nutrients cycle within these vibrant pockets of interaction, sustaining the delicate balance of life. Now let us take another step back, zoom out further still, and observe how these myriad ecosystems coalesce into larger, magnificent patterns across our planet. Imagine, if you will, looking down upon Earth from a great distance, not just seeing the greens and blues, but discerning vast repeating tapestries of life. You would notice that certain types of vegetation, certain characteristic animal communities, recur in predictable ways, shaped by the overarching forces of climate. This brings us to the concept of biomes. A biome, in its simplest definition, is a large geographical area characterized by its specific climate and the dominant types of plant and animal life that have adapted to those conditions. Think of biomes as Earth's major ecological address labels, each one a unique expression of how life thrives under particular environmental constraints. They are not defined by political borders or human constructs, but by the deep ancient rhythms of our planet. What primarily determines where one biome begins and another ends? The answer, friends, lies largely in what climate. Specifically, the twin pillars of temperature and precipitation. These two factors, working in concert, dictate the availability of water, the length of growing seasons, and the energy budget for life in any given region. The tilt of our Earth, its orbit around the Sun, the vastness of our oceans, and the ceaseless currents of our atmosphere all conspire to create the diverse climatic zones we observe. From the equator, where solar energy is most direct and constant, to the poles, where it arrives obliquely and sparsely, we see a spectrum of temperatures. Coupled with this, patterns of rainfall driven by global atmospheric circulation, where warm, moist air rises and cools to release its moisture, then descends dry, create regions of lush abundance and stark aridity. Even ocean currents, like colossal conveyor belts, transport warmth and moisture around the globe, profoundly influencing coastal climates far inland. Let us briefly touch upon some of the Earth's most iconic terrestrial biomes, each a testament to life's incredible adaptability. Consider first the tropical rainforests, often called the jewels of the Earth, or the world's largest pharmacy. Here, near the equator, where temperatures are consistently warm and rainfall is abundant throughout the year, life explodes in a riot of green. Imagine the dense, multi-layered canopy, filtering sunlight into dappled patterns on the forest floor. Here, competition for light is fierce, driving trees to reach dizzying heights and fostering an unparalleled biodiversity. Every branch, every leaf, every patch of soil teems with species, from vibrant orchids and bromeliads to elusive jaguars and countless insect species, many still unknown to science. The very air pulses with life, a symphony of chirps, calls, and rustles. It is a place of perpetual growth, where decomposition is rapid and nutrients are quickly recycled, held tightly within the living biomass rather than the thin soil. Now, let us journey to a place of stark contrast, the deserts. Imagine vast stretches of land where temperatures can swing wildly from scorching daytime highs to freezing nighttime lows, and precipitation is scarce and unpredictable. The Sonoran Desert, for example, paints a picture of resilience, where cacti like the saguaro stand as stoic sentinels, their rib stems storing precious water, their spines offering protection. Desert life, whether plant or animal, has evolved ingenious strategies to survive this harshness. Deep root systems, succulent leaves, nocturnal activity, or the ability to enter states of dormancy awaiting the rare rains. The desert, though seemingly barren, is alive with a quiet, tenacious beauty, a testament to life's refusal to surrender even in the face of extreme adversity. Moving away from the equator and towards the poles, we might encounter the temperate deciduous forests. Think of the vibrant autumn foliage that paints hillsides in fiery reds, oranges, and golds, a characteristic display of these biomes. Here, we experience distinct seasons, warm summers, cold winters, and moderate, consistent rainfall. Trees like oaks, maples, and beeches shed their leaves in autumn to conserve water and energy during the colder months, creating a rich layer of organic matter on the forest floor that nourishes new growth in spring. This seasonal rhythm dictates the life cycles of the animals that call these forests home, from hibernating bears to migratory birds. Further north or at higher altitudes lies the silent, vast expanse of the whole boreal forest, or home taiga. Imagine endless stretches of coniferous trees, pines, spruces, and firs, their needles adapted to shed snow and conserve water in long, cold winters. The growing season here is short, but the sheer scale of these forests, particularly across Canada, Russia, and Scandinavia, is breathtaking. Wildlife here, from moose to wolves, is adapted to cold and often migratory, following the availability of food. And finally, at the very top of the world, we encounter the tundra. Here, the ground beneath a thin layer of soil remains permanently frozen, a condition known as permafrost. This prevents deep-rooted trees from growing, leaving a landscape of low-lying shrubs, mosses, lichens, and grasses. The summer, though brief, brings a burst of life, with migratory birds arriving to nest and feed on the abundant insects. It is a biome of stark, windswept beauty, where life moves slowly, deliberately, a testament to endurance against extreme cold. Beyond these terrestrial realms, our planet also harbours vast and vital aquatic biomes, which cover approximately 75% of Earth's surface. We categorise these broadly into hot freshwater biomes and marine biomes. Freshwater biomes include the still waters of ponds and lakes, the flowing waters of rivers and streams, and the saturated lands of wetlands. Each has its unique characteristics: lakes stratified by temperature and light, rivers carving paths and carrying nutrients, wetlands acting as Earth's kidneys, filtering pollutants and providing critical habitats. Light penetration, water velocity, and nutrient availability are key factors shaping these environments. The marine biomes are, of course, the oceans, a single vast interconnected body of salt water that profoundly influences global climate and supports an astonishing diversity of life. Imagine the sunlit surface waters of the pelagic zone, teeming with microscopic phytoplankton, the primary producers that form the base of marine food webs. Below, as light diminishes, life adapts to increasing pressure and darkness, leading to the mysterious and often bizarre creatures of the deep sea. We find vibrant coral reefs in warm, shallow tropical waters, bustling cities of the sea built by tiny polyps, providing shelter and food for countless species, and where rivers meet the sea and near estuaries. Dynamic, brackish environments that serve as nurseries for many marine species, incredibly productive but also vulnerable to human impact. Salinity, depth, temperature, and light are the architects of these watery worlds. As we consider these distinct biomes, we begin to see the repeating patterns, the grand design. Each biome, though unique, is not an isolated island. The water that falls as rain in a tropical forest may have evaporated from a distant ocean. The winds that sweep across a desert may carry dust particles from another continent. The migratory birds that nest in the tundra may winter in temperate forests. All of these biomes, terrestrial and aquatic, are inextricably linked, forming a continuous living skin around our planet. This brings us to the ultimate ecological scale, the biosphere. If an organism is a single note, a population a chord, a community a melody, and an ecosystem a symphony, then the biosphere is the entire cosmic orchestra, playing a single, continuous, breathtaking piece. The biosphere is quite simply the sum of all ecosystems. It is the thin, precious layer of Earth, from the deepest ocean trenches to the highest mountain peaks, and a few miles into the atmosphere, where life exists. It is our home, our collective living entity. The fundamental processes we discussed in Chapter 4, the flow of energy and the cycling of nutrients, do not stop at the boundaries of an individual ecosystem. They operate on a global scale, binding the biosphere together. Solar energy fuels all life, traversing oceans and continents. Water cycles globally, moving from liquid to vapor to ice, connecting every corner of the planet. Carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus migrate through living organisms, the atmosphere, the oceans, and the Earth's crust, in a continuous planetary ballet. The oxygen we breathe, the climate that sustains us, the very soil beneath our feet, all are products of the biosphere's intricate self-regulating systems. And within this magnificent living sphere we, humanity, have emerged. Our presence, our ingenuity, our sheer numbers have given us an unprecedented capacity to alter the very fabric of the biosphere. We are no longer merely participants in this grand design. We are now, whether we choose to acknowledge it or not, its most significant architects. Our actions in one corner of the globe can ripple outwards, affecting biomes and life forms far distant. The choices we make about how we live, how we consume, how we interact with the natural world are now choices that echo across the entire biosphere. This awareness, this understanding of our place within such an immense and interconnected system is not meant to be a burden, but an invitation to profound reverence, to thoughtful stewardship, and to a deeper appreciation of the miracle that is life on Earth. From the single organism adapting to its niche, through the complex interactions within communities, to the vast, self-sustaining ecosystems, and finally to the breathtaking unity of the biosphere, we have journeyed through the scales of life. Take a moment now, dear friends, to simply feel the immensity of this understanding. Feel the intricate connections that bind us to every living thing, to every biome, to the entire biosphere. We are not separate from nature, we are nature. And in this realization lies both our greatest responsibility and our most profound joy. Our next steps together will explore how these intricate systems have evolved over vast stretches of time and how they continue to change, both naturally and under our growing influence. But for now, let this image of our living, breathing planet, a single magnificent biosphere, settle gently in your thoughts. Welcome back, dear friends, to our quiet corner of the Dreamy Academy. As the twilight deepens outside our conceptual windows, we find ourselves standing at a threshold, looking out upon the vast, intricate tapestry we called the biosphere in our last gathering. We spoke of its breathtaking scale, this thin, vibrant film of life that envelops our planet, a cosmic symphony playing out across continents and oceans. And we hinted gently at a unique player within this grand orchestration, ourselves. Today we turn our gaze inward, reflecting on humanity's place within this ecological narrative. For too long, perhaps, we have seen ourselves as separate, as observers of nature rather than participants. But ecology reminds us, with gentle insistence, that we are woven into every thread, every note of this living system. We are not just on Earth, we are of Earth. Consider for a moment our journey thus far. We began with the solitary individual, then expanded to populations, communities, ecosystems, and finally the boundless biosphere. Now, let us place humanity within this framework. What is our population? What is our community? What is our ecosystem? The answer, in its profound simplicity, is all of it. Our species, Homo sapiens, possesses a unique ecological niche, one that stretches across nearly every biome we discussed. From the harshest deserts to the coldest tundras, from the depths of the ocean to the heights of the mountains, we have found ways to adapt, to survive, and indeed to thrive. Our intelligence, our capacity for culture, for technology, for abstract thought, these are our adaptations, our specialized tools in the grand game of life. They have allowed us to modify our environments in ways no other species has. We build shelters, cultivate food, harness energy, and connect across vast distances. Our niche, then, is not merely a physical space, but a conceptual one, constantly expanding, constantly redefining the boundaries of what is possible. But with this unparalleled capacity comes an unprecedented responsibility. As we touched upon at the close of our last chapter, our ability to alter the biosphere is both a marvel and a profound challenge. For while we are part of nature, our actions often exert pressures that push against the very delicate balances we have so carefully explored. Think back to the flow of energy, the cycling of nutrients. These are the planet's lifeblood, its metabolic processes. Yet our modern lives often interrupt these ancient rhythms. Our industries release vast quantities of carbon into the atmosphere, accelerating the planet's natural carbon cycle and leading to shifts in global temperatures and weather patterns, a phenomenon we now widely understand as climate change. This isn't just a distant scientific concept, it's a profound ecological disruption, altering the very conditions that define biomes, shifting species ranges, and stressing entire ecosystems. Ice melts, seas rise, storms intensify, droughts linger. The planet's thermostat is being recalibrated by our collective hand. Then there is the issue of habitat loss and/or fragmentation. As our populations grow and our demand for resources expands, we convert forests into farmlands, wetlands into urban centres, and wild spaces into infrastructure. We build roads that sever ancient migration routes, dams that halt the flow of rivers, and cities that replace diverse ecosystems with monocultures of concrete and steel. These actions directly diminish the available space for countless other species, often leading to declines in populations and, tragically, to extinction. The irreversible loss of a species from Earth. Each extinction is like tearing a unique thread from the tapestry of life, weakening its overall strength and resilience. Consider too the pervasive shadow of sheer pollution. We introduce substances into the air, water and soil that are foreign to natural cycles, or in quantities that overwhelm the ecosystem's capacity to process them. Plastics, persistent organic pollutants, heavy metals, excess nutrients from agriculture. These contaminants disrupt the delicate chemical balances upon which life depends. They accumulate in food webs, harming individuals and entire populations, from the smallest plankton to the largest predators, and yes, even to ourselves. Our waste, in essence, becomes a misplaced nutrient, a toxic ghost in the ecological machine. And what of our consumption? We draw resources from the earth at an astonishing rate. Timber from forests, minerals from mountains, fish from oceans, water from aquifers. Sometimes we extract these resources faster than the earth can replenish them, a concept known as overconsumption or resource depletion. This applies not just to finite resources, but also to renewable ones when they're exploited beyond their capacity for regeneration. When we harvest too many fish, the population collapses. When we pump too much groundwater, the wells run dry. When we clear too many trees, the forest can no longer support its myriad life forms or regulate local climate. We are, in effect, drawing down our planetary savings account at an unsustainable rate. In our interconnected world, another significant human impact comes from the movement of species. Through global trade and travel, we inadvertently or intentionally introduce a species to new environments where they have no natural predators or controls. These invasive species can outcompete native organisms, disrupt local food webs, and even drive endemic species to extinction. They are ecological wildcards, rewriting the rules of established communities and often simplifying the rich diversity that once thrived there. These are not just isolated problems, dear listeners. They are interconnected threads in a complex web of human impact, each action rippling outward, creating feedback loops that amplify the challenges. Deforestation contributes to climate change by reducing carbon absorption, which in turn stresses remaining forests, making them more vulnerable to disease and fire. Pollution harms biodiversity, weakening ecosystems' abilities to provide essential services like clean water and air, which ultimately impacts human health and well-being. The health of the natural world and the health of humanity are inextricably linked. We cannot thrive in isolation from the planet that sustains us. This understanding, this profound realization of our interconnectedness and our immense power, leads us to a crucial concept: sustainability. What does it mean to live sustainably? It means meeting the needs of the present without compromising the ability of future generations to meet their own needs. It's about recognizing that the Earth's resources are finite, its capacity to absorb our impacts is limited, and that true prosperity cannot be built upon ecological degradation. Sustainability is not merely about preserving nature for its own sake, though that is a noble and worthy goal. It is about preserving the very conditions that allow human civilization to flourish. It's about recognizing that clean water, breathable air, fertile soil, stable climate, and the rich biodiversity that underpins ecosystem services are not luxuries, but fundamental necessities. They are the natural capital upon which our economies, our societies, and our very lives depend. How do we begin to measure our impact, to understand the scale of our footprint? Ecologists have developed tools like the ecological footprint, which estimates the amount of land and water area a human population or an individual requires to produce the resources it consumes and to absorb its wastes. It's a powerful metaphor, helping us visualize how much of the Earth's productive capacity we are utilizing and whether we are living within its means. This journey through ecology, from the smallest cell to the vastness of the biosphere, is ultimately a journey of self-discovery. It reveals not only the intricate workings of the natural world, but also our profound place within it. It calls us to become thoughtful stewards, those who take care of something entrusted to them. Stewardship is not about dominion over nature, but about living in respectful partnership with it. It's about understanding the ecological principles we have explored and applying them to our daily choices, our policies, and our collective vision for the future. This is not a lecture of despair, dear friends, but one of awakening. For within the understanding of our impacts lies the power to change, to innovate, to heal. The same intelligence and ingenuity that allowed us to shape the world also equip us with the capacity to reshape our relationship with it. It is a call to conscious living, to appreciating the profound beauty and resilience of life, and to acting with wisdom and foresight. The intricate dance of life continues, a perpetual ballet of energy and matter, and we, Homo sapiens, are not just spectators but active dancers on this stage. May our steps be gentle, our movements graceful, and our presence a harmonious addition to the cosmic symphony. The path forward is one of informed choice, of collective action, and of a deep, abiding reverence for the living planet that is our only home. Thank you for your thoughtful presence on this journey. Until our next gathering, may your curiosity continue to bloom, and your connection to the living world deepen with every passing moment. We have journeyed together through the intricate tapestry of life, from the individual organism's solitary dance to the grand interconnected symphony of the biosphere. We have marveled at adaptation, understood the delicate balance of populations, witnessed the vibrant interactions within communities, grasped the essential flow of energy and nutrients in ecosystems, and traversed the vast defining biomes that cloak our planet. And in our last gathering, we faced a profound reflection, the significant, often overwhelming footprint of humanity upon this earth. We acknowledge the challenges: climate change, habitat loss, pollution, overconsumption, invasive species, and the urgent need for sustainability and stewardship. Tonight, dear friends, we do not dwell in the shadow of these challenges, but rather turn our gaze towards the dawn. For understanding, as we have learned, is not an end in itself, but a powerful beginning. It is the fertile ground from which action blossoms. Having illuminated the complexities of our impact, we now seek the pathways forward, the conscious choices, and the collective spirit that can mend, restore, and ultimately foster a truly harmonious partnership with our living planet. Think back to the very first principle we explored: interconnectedness. Every organism, every population, every community, every ecosystem, every biome, all are inextricably linked. This profound truth, which reveals the vulnerability of the system, also unveils its immense resilience and the power of even the smallest positive change. Just as a single stone dropped into a still pond sends ripples to the farthest shore, so too do our individual and collective actions resonate throughout the biosphere. So, where do we begin? Perhaps, as with all great journeys, we begin with ourselves. The concept of individual action might seem dwarfed by the scale of global ecological crises, yet it is the bedrock upon which all larger movements are built. Consider your daily choices: the food you eat, the energy you consume, the products you purchase, the waste you generate. Each decision, a tiny vote cast for the kind of world you wish to inhabit. Choosing locally sourced produce, reducing meat consumption, opting for public transport or cycling, conserving water and energy at home, repairing rather than replacing, refusing single-use plastics. These are not merely personal preferences, they are acts of conscious stewardship. They are small yet significant affirmations of our ecological understanding, reducing our individual or ecological footprint and inspiring those around us. But the power truly amplifies when individual actions coalesce into collective impact. Imagine 1,000, 1,000,000, 1,000,000,000 such conscious choices. The ripple effect becomes a wave. This is where communities, both local and global, come into play. Supporting businesses committed to sustainable practices, advocating for environmental policies in your town or nation, volunteering for conservation efforts, educating others. These are all ways we weave our individual threads into a stronger, more resilient fabric. We become active participants in the healing of our world. Our ingenuity, which has at times exacerbated ecological challenges, also holds immense promise for solutions. Technological innovation, guided by ecological wisdom, is a vital tool in our stewardship toolkit. Consider the rapid advancements in renewable energy sources: solar panels transforming sunlight into clean power, wind turbines harnessing the invisible currents of the air. These technologies offer a path away from fossil fuels, mitigating climate change by reducing our carbon emissions. Think of sustainable agriculture techniques, permaculture, agroforestry, vertical farming, methods that work with nature, enhancing soil health, conserving water, and reducing the need for harmful pesticides. Waste management is evolving too, with innovative recycling processes and the development of biodegradable materials that lessen our burden on landfills and oceans. Yet we must approach technology with a critical eye, always asking, does this innovation truly serve life? Does it integrate seamlessly with natural cycles, or does it merely shift the problem elsewhere? Technology is a powerful servant, but it must always be guided by the profound wisdom of ecological principles. Beyond individual choices and technological advancements, we recognize the critical role of policy and governance. Large-scale change often requires systemic shifts, enacted through thoughtful legislation and international cooperation. Protecting vast tracts of land and ocean, regulating industrial emissions, enforcing sustainable resource management, investing in green infrastructure, these are responsibilities that fall to governments and international bodies. Agreements like the Paris Accord, while imperfect, represent collective commitments to address global challenges. It is through active participation in our democratic processes, holding our leaders accountable, and supporting policies rooted in ecological science that we can drive this essential systemic transformation. And what of the scars we have already inflicted? Here, the concept of restoration and conservation becomes paramount. We are learning not only to protect what remains, but also to actively heal what has been damaged. Ecological restoration is the process of assisting the recovery of an ecosystem that has been degraded, damaged, or destroyed. This can involve reforesting clear-cut lands, reintroducing native species, cleaning up polluted waterways, or revitalizing wetlands that act as natural filters and flood buffers. Imagine a community coming together to plant trees along a riverbank, stabilizing the soil, providing habitat, and improving water quality, or vast conservation efforts to protect endangered species, creating wildlife corridors, and establishing national parks and marine protected areas, sanctuaries where nature can thrive, unburdened by human interference. These acts of restoration are not just scientific endeavours, they are acts of profound hope and reconciliation, demonstrating our capacity to learn from past mistakes and actively participate in the Earth's regeneration. The very essence of this lecture series, this slow and thoughtful adventure we've shared, underscores another crucial pathway: education and awareness. The more we understand the intricate workings of the natural world, the more we appreciate its intrinsic value and the more compelled we are to protect it. Sharing knowledge, sparking curiosity, fostering a sense of wonder in others, these are vital contributions. Every conversation about biodiversity, every shared article on climate solutions, every moment spent observing the natural world with a child plants a seed of ecological literacy that can grow into a forest of informed action. You, by being here tonight, are already a part of this vital movement. Perhaps the most profound shift required of us is a change in our very mindset, a paradigm shift. For too long, humanity has often viewed itself as separate from nature, as its master, rather than an integral part of it. This anthropocentric view, placing human needs and desires above all else, has led to unsustainable exploitation. We are called now to embrace an ecocentric perspective, one that recognizes the inherent value of all life and understands that human well-being is inextricably linked to the health of the entire biosphere. Stewardship then becomes less about managing resources and more about cultivating a respectful, reciprocal relationship with the Earth. It's a recognition that we are not just inhabitants, but guardians, woven into the same fabric of life as every other creature. It's a return to humility, an acknowledgement of the profound wisdom embedded in natural systems that have evolved over billions of years. This shift in perspective is not about sacrifice, it is about rediscovery. Rediscovering the joy of clean air and water, the peace of a thriving forest, the resilience of a healthy ecosystem. It is about understanding that our true prosperity lies not in endless consumption, but in living in balance, in fostering a world where all life can flourish. So as we draw this particular chapter to a close, let us not carry the weight of the world's problems, but rather the light of its potential. Let us embrace the profound hope that springs from understanding. The earth is resilient, life is tenacious, and humanity, when it chooses, possesses an extraordinary capacity for empathy, innovation, and collective action. The path to a sustainable future is not easy, nor is it a single straight line. It is a winding journey, filled with challenges, but also with immense beauty and opportunity. Let us remember the wisdom of the ancient forests, the adaptability of the desert creatures, the profound interconnectedness of the deep sea. Let these lessons inspire us. Let us be active participants in the ongoing story of life, conscious stewards of this precious planet. For the Ecology for Beginners lecture is not merely about learning facts. It is about awakening a deeper connection, a profound appreciation, and an unwavering commitment to the living world that sustains us all. The adventure, dear friends, truly begins now with each of us, carrying this understanding forward into the quiet moments of our daily lives and into the grand tapestry of our shared future. As we journey deeper into this dreamy academy, our collective gaze has swept across the magnificent canvas of the biosphere, marveling at its intricate design, its self-regulating breath, its ceaseless dance of life and renewal. We have seen how every organism, every population, every community and every ecosystem weaves into a single breathtaking tapestry, a cosmic symphony playing out across the vastness of time. Now, dear friends, it is time for us to turn our attention inward, to acknowledge our own unique and often profound role within this grand narrative. For we, Homo sapiens, are not merely observers of this ecological drama, we are active participants, indeed, a dominant force capable of reshaping the very stage upon which life performs. Our species, with its remarkable ingenuity, its boundless creativity, and its ever-expanding reach, has, in a relatively short span of geological time, begun to leave an indelible mark upon the planet. It is a mark that speaks both of our capacity for creation and our potential for disruption. Let us contemplate with open hearts and minds the nature of this human hand upon the tapestry of life. What are the threads we have pulled, the colours we have altered, the patterns we have inadvertently, or sometimes knowingly, rearranged? One of the most profound ways we have begun to reshape our world is through the alteration of its very atmosphere, leading to what we commonly refer to as climate change. For eons, our planet maintained a delicate atmospheric balance, a natural greenhouse effect that kept Earth hospitable, neither too cold nor too hot. It was like a perfectly calibrated thermostat allowing life to flourish. But with the advent of the Industrial Revolution and our increasing reliance on burning fossil fuels, coal, oil and natural gas, we began to release vast quantities of greenhouse gases, primarily carbon dioxide and methane, that had been sequestered deep within the Earth for millions of years. Imagine, if you will, adding extra blankets to an already cozy bed. The planet's atmospheric blanket has thickened, trapping more heat and causing the Earth's average temperature to rise. This isn't merely about warmer days, it's about a fundamental shift in the planet's operating system. We witness the melting of glaciers and polar ice caps contributing to rising sea levels that threaten coastal communities and ecosystems. We observe more frequent and intense extreme weather events, heat waves that scorch landscapes, droughts that wither crops, floods that inundate cities, and storms that rage with unprecedented fury. The very oceans, those vast cradles of life, are absorbing much of this excess carbon dioxide, leading to ocean acidification, which threatens marine life, particularly organisms like corals and shellfish that rely on calcium carbonate to build their shells and skeletons. We are, in essence, subtly yet powerfully, unraveling the atmospheric blanket that has protected and nurtured life for so long. Another significant impact, perhaps the most visible and immediate, is habitat loss and fragmentation. As our global population has grown, so too has our demand for resources, for space, for food, and for infrastructure. Ancient forests, which serve as the planet's lungs and biodiversity hotspots, are cleared for agriculture, timber, or urban expansion. Wetlands, nature's intricate water filters and nurseries for countless species, are drained and filled. Grasslands, teeming with life, are converted into pastures or monoculture farms. Imagine a vibrant, diverse neighborhood slowly being demolished, house by house, leaving behind isolated fragments of what once was. This fragmentation isolates populations, making them more vulnerable to disease, genetic decline, and local extinction, as they can no longer freely move to find food, mates, or escape threats. We are, quite literally, shredding the fabric of life's homes, leaving many species without a place to belong, a place to thrive. Then there is the pervasive issue of pollution, a silent, often invisible assailant that seeps into every corner of our planet. It's more than just the smog you might see hovering over a city or the litter on a beach. Pollution encompasses a vast array of contaminants, industrial chemicals discharged into rivers, pesticides sprayed on fields that poison soil and water, microplastics infiltrating oceans and even our own bodies, excessive nutrients from agricultural runoff creating dead zones in aquatic environments. It includes light pollution that disrupts nocturnal animals' navigation and breeding cycles, and noise pollution that stresses wildlife. Each of these pollutants, in its own way, disrupts the delicate physiological processes of living organisms, alters chemical cycles, and compromises the health of entire ecosystems. It's as if we are inadvertently tainting the very lifeblood of the planet, introducing foreign elements that disrupt its intricate internal chemistry. The consequences ripple outward, affecting not only individual species but the entire health and resilience of the web of life. Closely linked to habitat loss and pollution is the challenge of overconsumption. In many parts of the world, our economic models are built on a linear system. We extract resources, manufacture goods, use them, and then dispose of them. This take-make-dispose mentality fuels an insatiable demand for raw materials, pushing ecosystems beyond their capacity to regenerate. We consume more food than we need, generate mountains of waste, and often prioritize convenience and novelty over durability and ecological wisdom. This constant demand for more places immense pressure on natural systems, leading to resource depletion from freshwater aquifers to rare earth minerals. It's like an ever-hungry mouth, consuming beyond the Earth's generous offering, without fully considering the invisible costs borne by the planet and future generations. This unsustainable appetite creates a continuous feedback loop, exacerbating habitat loss, pollution, and the energy demands that drive climate change. Finally, let us consider the subtle yet devastating impact of invasive species. In our interconnected world, facilitated by global travel and trade, we have inadvertently or sometimes deliberately introduced species from one ecosystem into another where they do not naturally belong. These uninvited guests can wreak havoc on native ecosystems. Lacking natural predators or competitors in this new environment, they can outcompete native species for resources, prey directly on vulnerable populations, introduce new diseases, and fundamentally alter habitats. Think of a meticulously crafted clockwork mechanism where each gear and spring has a specific evolved role. Introducing a foreign, aggressive component can jam the entire system, disrupting ancient relationships and leading to a cascade of negative effects, often culminating in the decline or extinction of native species. These biological invasions are a stark reminder of how interconnected our world has become, and how a seemingly small action can have monumental, unforeseen consequences. As we reflect on these profound impacts, climate change, habitat loss, pollution, overconsumption, and invasive species, it becomes clear that they are not isolated problems. No, they are deeply interwoven, threads of human activity pulling and tugging at the same great tapestry of life. Each challenge exacerbates the others, creating a complex web of planetary stress that tests the resilience of the biosphere itself. Understanding these impacts is not meant to foster despair, but rather a deep, clear-eyed awareness. For in acknowledging the weight of our collective footprint, we begin to grasp the immense responsibility that comes with our unique place in the natural world. It is the first crucial step toward reimagining our relationship with the living planet, moving from a trajectory of disruption to one of deliberate, respectful stewardship. It is an invitation to channel our ingenuity and creativity not into further strain, but into healing and harmonious coexistence. And so we arrive at a pivotal juncture in our shared journey, don't we? We have gazed deeply into the mirror of our collective impact, acknowledging the profound transformations humanity has wrought upon this delicate, intricate biosphere. The weight of that understanding can, at times, feel immense, a shadow cast over the vibrant tapestry we've come to admire. But here, in the quiet embrace of our dreamy academy, we understand that recognition is not an end, but a beginning. It is the first ray of dawn after a long night, illuminating the path forward. For the very same intelligence, the same ingenuity, the same capacity for connection that has, perhaps inadvertently, led us to this precipice, also holds the boundless potential to guide us toward a future of balance, healing, and profound harmony. This isn't merely a hope, it is an ecological imperative woven into the very fabric of life's resilience. The Earth, our patient and generous host, possesses an astonishing capacity for regeneration, and we, as her conscious inhabitants, are called to participate in that sacred process. Our focus now shifts, gently yet resolutely, from the challenges to the pathways, the manifold strategies, both grand and intimate, that can lead us toward a sustainable future. It is a journey that begins not with grand pronouncements, but with a quiet revolution within each of us, a fundamental reorientation of our perspective. This, dear friends, is the mindset shift. Moving from an anthropocentric view, where humanity stands at the apex, separate from and often dominant over nature, to an ecocentric perspective, Imagine, if you will, stepping down from a lofty solitary peak and rejoining the ancient forest floor. Here, you are not merely an observer, but an intrinsic thread in the vast, interwoven web of life. You are a participant, a co-creator, deeply interdependent with every rustling leaf, every flowing stream, every creature that shares this planetary home. An ecocentric worldview recognizes that the health and well-being of all life forms and the ecosystems that sustain them are not secondary considerations to human prosperity, but rather the very foundation upon which any lasting human prosperity must be built. It's a deep empathy that extends beyond our species, acknowledging the inherent value of every redwood, every coral polyp, every beetle, not just for what it can offer us, but for its own exquisite existence. This shift isn't about self-denial, it's about self-realization, understanding that our true flourishing is inextricably linked to the flourishing of the entire living world. It cultivates a sense of profound respect, humility, and gratitude for the intricate dance of life that sustains us all. From this recalibrated perspective, individual action ceases to be a burden and transforms into an act of empowerment, a conscious contribution to the greater good. Each choice we make, no matter how small it may seem, sends ripples through the interconnected system. Think of the water you conserve, the energy you save, the food you choose, the waste you reduce, the products you purchase with mindful consideration of their origin and their journey. These aren't isolated acts. They are threads woven into a new, more sustainable pattern. When you choose to walk or cycle instead of drive, you are not only reducing carbon emissions, but also fostering a deeper connection with your immediate environment, noticing the birdsong, feeling the breeze. When you support local regenerative agriculture, you are not just nourishing your body, but also strengthening community ties and healing the soil. Each thoughtful decision is a quiet affirmation of your commitment to an ecocentric way of being, a gentle prayer offered to the earth. And these individual actions, when multiplied across communities, across continents, begin to coalesce into a powerful, more collective impact. Imagine a single raindrop, then 1,000, then 1,000,000, gathering into a stream, then a river, then an ocean. Our shared commitments, our collective voices, have the power to shift entire paradigms. This is where community initiatives bloom, local gardens that become hubs of biodiversity and shared knowledge, neighborhood cleanup efforts that rejuvenate public spaces, advocacy groups that champion environmental protection. These are the living laboratories of change, demonstrating that when people unite with a shared purpose driven by ecological wisdom, they can transform their immediate surroundings and inspire broader movements. It's the strength of shared conviction, the joy of working hand in hand to nurture a healthier world. But our journey towards sustainability also embraces the remarkable potential of technological innovation, not as a panacea, but as a wise and powerful ally. Here, we envision technology guided by ecological principles, inspired by nature's own elegant solutions. Think of the ingenuity of biomimicry, where engineers study the lotus leaf to design self-cleaning surfaces, or emulate the intricate structures of termite mounds for energy-efficient architecture. Consider the rapid advancements in renewable energy, solar panels that harness the sun's ancient light, wind turbines that dance with the atmospheric currents, geothermal systems that tap into the Earth's inner warmth. These are not merely alternative energy sources, they are pathways to energy independence, cleaner air, and a stable climate, all while respecting the planet's finite resources. We also look to innovations in circular economy models, where waste is not merely discarded but becomes a valuable resource, continuously cycled back into production, mimicking nature's own perfect recycling system. These are the tools that, wielded with wisdom and foresight, can help us redesign our systems to be regenerative rather than extractive. Yet even the most dedicated individual actions and brilliant technological solutions require the scaffolding of policy and governance. For the grand challenges we face, climate change, biodiversity loss, ocean acidification, transcend individual boundaries and necessitate systemic, coordinated responses. This involves the crafting of thoughtful legislation that protects critical habitats, establishes national parks and marine reserves, and regulates pollution. It requires international agreements that set ambitious targets for emissions reductions, foster sustainable resource management across borders, and support developing nations in their transition to green economies. Carbon pricing, incentives for sustainable businesses, the phasing out of harmful subsidies, these are the levers of change that can reshape entire industries and economies, guiding them toward ecological responsibility. It's about establishing the rules of the game that ensure fairness, accountability, and the long-term well-being of the planet and all its inhabitants. And what of the wounds already inflicted? Here, we turn to the vital work of restoration and conservation. This is the active, deliberate effort to heal, to mend, to bring back what has been lost or damaged. Imagine vast reforestation projects where millions of trees are planted, breathing new life into deforested lands, drawing carbon from the atmosphere, and creating new homes for countless species. Picture the rewilding initiatives that return apex predators to their rightful places, allowing entire ecosystems to regain their natural balance, their ancient rhythms. Consider the tireless efforts to protect endangered species, not just as individual creatures, but as irreplaceable threads in the web of life, each carrying unique genetic wisdom. This work is an act of profound hope, a testament to our capacity to not only cease harm, but to actively regenerate, to give back to the earth that which we have taken. It is the gardening of a planet, tending to its wounds with care and dedication. Underpinning all these pathways is the unwavering commitment to our education and awareness. This is what we are doing here, together, in this very moment. It is the sharing of knowledge, the fostering of curiosity, the nurturing of an ecological consciousness that permeates all aspects of society. From early childhood education that connects children with the wonders of the natural world, to public campaigns that illuminate the science of climate change, to specialized training that equips professionals with sustainable practices, education is the seed from which all other solutions grow. It cultivates empathy, empowers individuals to make informed choices, and inspires the next generation of scientists, policymakers, artists, and activists to champion the cause of our living planet. It's about opening eyes and hearts to the profound beauty and interconnectedness of life, making the invisible visible, and making the urgent undeniable. So you see, dear listeners, the journey toward a sustainable future is not a single monolithic path, but a confluence of many streams, all flowing toward the same ocean of well-being. It is a harmonious symphony where individual actions resonate with collective movements, where technological ingenuity serves ecological wisdom, where policy provides the framework for restoration, and where education illuminates the way forward. This is not a task for a select few. It is a shared responsibility, a grand and noble endeavour for all of humanity. It is about understanding that we are not merely inheriting the earth from our ancestors, but borrowing it from our children and from the myriad species with whom we share this precious blue sphere. The solutions are within our grasp, requiring only our collective will, our compassionate intelligence, and our unwavering commitment to harmonious coexistence. As we conclude this chapter, let us carry forward this sense of hopeful purpose. Let us remember that every choice, every conversation, every act of stewardship contributes to the unfolding story of our planet. The tapestry is vast, the threads are many, and each of us holds a needle, ready to weave a future that is vibrant, resilient, and profoundly alive. This is our shared adventure, our collective calling to become true stewards of this miraculous earth. And so, here we find ourselves, standing at the precipice of understanding, or perhaps more accurately, at the threshold of a new beginning. We embarked on this journey together, didn't we? A slow and thoughtful adventure within the quietude of this dreamy academy, seeking to unravel the profound tapestry of life that envelops our precious planet. We peeled back the layers of existence, from the solitary dance of an individual organism within its chosen habitat and niche, to the bustling congregations of populations, their stories told in curves of growth and decline, their destinies shaped by the invisible hand of carrying capacity. We trace the intricate choreography of communities where life forms compete, cooperate, and coexist, crafting the very fabric of biodiversity. We then zoomed out to the grand stage of ecosystems, witnessing the ceaseless ballet of energy flowing and nutrients cycling, the very breath of our planet, sustaining all forms of life. From the vast, climate-defined biomes, those grand ecological provinces, we finally embraced the entirety of the biosphere, understanding it not merely as a sum of its parts, but as a singular, magnificent living entity. And yes, we confronted the shadows. We acknowledged the undeniable imprint of human activity, the challenges that loom large over our shared home: climate change, habitat loss, pollution, overconsumption, the disruptive dance of invasive species. These were not easy truths to face, but face them we did with open hearts and minds, understanding them as symptoms of a deeper disconnect. But we did not linger there in despair, did we? No, for the very act of understanding carries within it the seed of transformation. Instead, we turned our gaze towards the dawn, towards the profound shift in perspective that beckons us, the journey from an anthropocentric view, one that places humanity at the sole center of all value, to an ecocentric heart. We explored pathways to a sustainable future, recognizing that the solutions are as interconnected as the problems themselves. From individual actions that ripple outwards to create collective impact, to the promise of responsible technological innovation, the wisdom of effective policy, and the healing balm of restoration and conservation, we saw the multitude of ways we can mend and nurture. And always, always, we return to the unwavering message of hope, fueled by education, awareness, and a shared commitment to becoming conscious stewards of this living planet. Now, as we near the culmination of our formal lectures, it feels less like an ending and more like an unfolding. We've learnt the grammar of life, the syntax of interconnectedness. But knowing the grammar is only the first step. The true art lies in speaking the language, in living the poetry of ecological awareness. This ecocentric heart we speak of, it is not merely an intellectual concept to be grasped, but a way of being in the world, a deep and resonant feeling of belonging. It is the quiet realization that the air we breathe has been cycled through ancient forests and the vast, shimmering oceans. It is the understanding that the water we drink has journeyed through countless forms, from glacial ice to cloud vapor, from rushing river to deep earth, intimately connecting us to every drop that sustains life. It is the recognition that the food that nourishes us is a gift from the soil, from the sun, from the intricate web of life that surrounds us, a testament to the generosity of the earth itself. To cultivate an ecocentric heart is to feel the pulse of the planet in our own veins, to see the intricate beauty of a spider's web as a marvel of engineering, to hear the song of a bird as a vital thread in the cosmic symphony. It means extending our circle of compassion beyond our immediate human family to encompass all species, all ecosystems, recognizing their intrinsic worth, not just their utility to us. It means understanding that the health of the tiniest microbe in the soil is inextricably linked to the health of the mightiest redwood, and ultimately to our own well-being. It is a profound empathy, a sense of kinship with all life, a gentle awakening to our true place within the grand evolving story of existence. How then does this profound shift manifest in our daily lives? It begins with conscious presence, with an awakened awareness in every moment. It's in the simple act of choosing what we consume, asking ourselves, where did this come from? What was its journey? What impact did its creation have on the earth and its inhabitants? It's in the mindful appreciation of the resources we use, turning off a light, conserving water, repairing what is broken rather than discarding it. These are not grand, heroic gestures, but rather quiet, consistent acts of reverence, small prayers of gratitude offered to the living world. Stewardship, we've learned, is not a burden, but a privilege, a daily practice woven into the fabric of our existence. It's in the way we walk the earth, the way we tend our gardens, the way we engage with our communities. It's in our willingness to learn, to listen, to adapt, to advocate for the voiceless. It's in our commitment to leaving places better than we found them, to nurturing the natural world around us, whether it's a vast wilderness or a small patch of urban green. Each conscious choice, each thoughtful action, however seemingly insignificant, becomes a brushstroke on the canvas of a more sustainable future, contributing to a collective masterpiece of care and connection. Our time together in this dreamy academy has provided us with a map, a compass, and perhaps a deeper understanding of the terrain. But the true expedition, the lifelong journey of ecological living, begins now, beyond these virtual walls. The earth itself is the ultimate teacher, and its lessons are endless, its wisdom boundless. We are invited to continue our learning not just through books and lectures, but through direct engagement with the natural world. Go outside, observe, listen. Let the rustle of leaves, the murmur of a stream, the silent growth of a plant, or the intricate dance of insects teach you. Let curiosity be your guide, wonder your constant companion. The lecture, in a sense, never truly ends. It merely shifts from the speaker's voice to the earth's voice, to the whispers of the wind, the roar of the ocean, the quiet tenacity of a wildflower pushing through concrete. We become not just students, but active participants, co-creators in the ongoing story of life. And let us never forget the symphony of hope that underlies all of this. It is not a naive optimism, blind to the challenges, but a grounded belief in the immense capacity of human intelligence, compassion, and collective will. It is a faith in the Earth's own astonishing resilience, its ability to heal, to regenerate, if only we give it the space and the chance. Every action, no matter how small, adds a note to this symphony, a thread to this tapestry, a drop to the ocean of change. So, my friends, my fellow travellers on this beautiful planet, as our formal time together draws to a close, I offer you not a farewell, but an invitation to carry this newfound understanding and reverence into every corner of your lives, to embrace the ecocentric heart, to live with conscious presence, and to become the conscious stewards this world so desperately needs. May you find joy in the interconnectedness, peace in your belonging, and purpose in your actions. The future of life in all its wondrous forms is a shared adventure, and we are all, each and every one of us, essential players in its unfolding. Thank you for walking this path with us. May your journey forward be filled with wonder, compassion, and a deepening love for our extraordinary living earth.